Barcelona Sporting Director Deco has finally broken his silence, and he's not holding back. From Xavi's controversial exit to Hansi Flick's new era brain, from Lamine Yamal's explosive rise to Vitor Roque's future Brazil, Deco covers it all. Plus, inside info on Raphinha, Gavi's recovery, and Barcelona's shaky financial situation. And yes, transfer plans are already in motion. Stick around, this is the full inside scoop every Barca fan needs. Barcelona's summer transfer window has not been nearly as active as some of the other clubs in Europe, possibly because of their exclusion from the FIFA Club World Cup. There is, however, a movement that cannot be overlooked in some serious positions of interest, including the goalkeeping and attacking departments. Joan Garcia, for starters, is set to become the team's first new signing of the summer, while the club is also being linked with a plethora of wingers. The team behind all the developments, needless to say, is being spearheaded by Deco. Speaking to GE Globo in an extensive interview, Barcelona Sporting Director Deco opened up on a number of transfer-related talks concerning the present, the past, and the future of the club. On Vitor Roque's failure. Of all the topics he addressed, the Vitor Roque context caught the attention of the media, for he opened up in honesty about the player's situation and how his arrival did not work out. For me, his arrival in January was a mistake, but we didn't have many options. Xavi wanted it. The original plan was for him to come in the summer of 2024, and I think he was harmed by his early arrival, and this is where Barcelona's demands come in, he began. If you're too preoccupied with what the press says, you can have problems. His first 6 months weren't good, and I also think there was a shortcoming on the part of the staff and the club in identifying the problems he was facing, he elaborated on the topic. We weren't able to help him in that regard, he concluded, admitting the club was also to blame for his failure. Elaborating on the role Xavi Hernandez had in deciding the time of Roque's arrival, Deco said, "Coaches are always consulted on signings. The decision to bring him in January was made by Xavi, and the decision was to extend the adaptation process by 6 months. Ultimately, this is the nature of football. Going to Europe early is always difficult, especially if it's to Barcelona or Real Madrid," he added. On Xavi's sacking and Flick's appointment. The sporting director then went on to speak on Xavi Hernandez's departure and how it ended up being the roller coaster of events that it eventually did. When Xavi announced his departure, he surprised everyone. He later changed his mind and decided to stay, and the club was hesitant about making the decision, he began. Changing a coach may seem simple to those outside the club, but it's always complicated, especially when the coach is a club legend. However, we felt the team needed a coach with different qualities, he added. Speaking on how Hansi Flick was seen as the ideal candidate by the board and the new coach's first season at the club, Deco expressed positivity and great excitement. Flick was the coach we wanted, a coach with great management skills. Things went well and we're very happy. The performance was as we expected. Last season we reached the Champions League quarterfinals and felt we could have gone further. In the league we were eliminated early, but this season the idea was to compete for every title until the end, and that's exactly what happened, he added. The interview then tilted towards Barcelona's transfer plans and the positions they currently saw to be in need of signings. We believe we have a good balance both in defense and in midfield. There are players who are still growing and developing, such as Gavi, who has returned from injury and will be much better next season after a good pre-season. We have Marc Bernal, who was injured at the beginning of the season, as well as Ronald Araujo and Dani Olmo, and we are working to ensure that they do not get injured again, he added. Speaking on the forward department, which is where the club are being extensively linked with wingers, Deco added, "As for the attack, it will depend on what we can do in the market, but it may be the only line that we see as needing 1 or 2 players." On Barcelona's finances. The director then spoke on the club's economic situation and how the club have been bold and calculated with all their moves. Barcelona was going through a major financial crisis at the beginning of Laporta's tenure. The club was spending more than it earned, and this must be eliminated over time. Amidst this situation, the president made the bold decision to completely renovate the Camp Nou stadium. We went from a stadium with a capacity of 90,000 spectators to one with only 50,000, which meant a significant drop in revenue. He then provided a positive update on how they have managed to negate most of the losses and fix the club's finances. But today the club has signed one of its biggest contracts with Nike, and we will return to playing at Camp Nou with a capacity of 65,000 spectators, and then approximately a year later at full capacity. The rebuilding process is ongoing, and today there is no longer a financial problem. We only have a problem with the financial fair play rules due to the strict restrictions imposed on us, he added. Lamine Yamal's renewal. Towards the end of his interview, Deco spoke on Lamine Yamal and the impact the youngster has had on the sport worldwide. Lamine is the kind of player who appears once every few years and captivates everyone. He not only possesses skill but also great maturity for his age. He also possesses this charm, not only through his performance on the pitch but also because, perhaps because of his age, he resonates so well with young fans. This makes him a player who not only impresses those who watch him play, but who also creates a story of his own, he added. Speaking on how it was dealing with the renewals of such young stars who played out of their skin, the sporting director said, "It doesn't matter if he's 17, 27, or 30. We must show the same respect to everyone. A player renews his contract and is valued based on what he offers the club. It doesn't matter if he's 17 or 18. What matters is his performance. After that, it's only natural that we monitor how he handles all of this. I think his management of the situation is excellent, and he has shown that he has the mental capacity to deal with this stage. I hope and believe that he is ready for this challenge," he concluded. On Raphinha's growth. Finally, he gave his 2 cents on Raphinha's stellar season and how his transfer paid off with great dividends. Raphinha had an excellent season in England and there were many clubs interested in signing him, such as Arsenal and Chelsea. At the time, Barcelona was experiencing financial difficulties, but I knew that Raphinha's dream was to play for Barcelona. Coach Xavi wanted him and so did the president, he added. Elaborating on the story of his transfer, he said, "Deco just gave us a roadmap to Barcelona's future. And it's filled with promise, pressure and plenty of plot twists. Flick's project is coming, Yamal and Gavi are key, and big moves are on the horizon. What's your take on Deco's vision? Is Barca heading in the right direction under Flick? Drop your hottest take in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on that bell. The rebuild is on and we're covering every twist and turn." Barcelona have delayed their search for a number 9 until next season, with Robert Lewandowski set to lead their line for another year, the final one he is contracted for. However, President Joan Laporta has already started thinking about the post-Lewandowski era at Camp Nou. Lewandowski was Barcelona's top scorer last season, scoring 42 goals and giving 3 assists in his 52 appearances, including some crucial strikes in El Clasico against Real Madrid. Turning 37 in August though, it is no surprise that Barcelona are thinking about who will play through the middle after him. Marc-Andre ter Stegen is back in Barcelona following a flight back from Germany. A meeting between him and the sports area is imminent. Ter Stegen remains furious. Julian Alvarez to Barcelona talk. Initially when Joan Laporta returned to the Barcelona presidency, it was always noted that Erling Haaland would be the top target. But after that moved out of their financial reach, Lewandowski was brought in. More recently, Alexander Isak has been cited as the striker that most interests the recruitment at Barcelona. However, in recent weeks, there have been a number of links between Barcelona and Atletico Madrid forward Julian Alvarez. His agent has supposedly held meetings with several major clubs, but it was made known that an offer that would most attract him was Barcelona. Talk that was fueled by his agent too. Laporta admires Alvarez. Alvarez arrived at Atletico Madrid for €75 million, plus €15 million in variables, last summer, and by the midway point this season, it became clear he was the star name in their lineup. According to Cadena SR, after watching him 4 times in person, Laporta has changed his tune from talking about AC Milan's Rafael Leo as a dream signing, to discussing Alvarez. Any move would occur next summer, despite Atletico's constant assertions that Alvarez is going nowhere. Alvarez's debut season at Atletico. The 25-year-old forward was a constant for Diego Simeone this season, leading the line alongside one of Antoine Griezmann or Alexander Sorloth. In his 54 appearances, Alvarez scored 29 goals and gave 7 assists this season, just 9 less than Lewandowski in a far less prolific team. In the last few years, the number of players making the jump from the FC Barcelona academy to the first team has been quite high. The current Blaugrana first team includes several such players who made the jump from the youth academy, including Gavi, Alejandro Bald, Pau Cubarsí and Lamine Yamal. Meanwhile, there are still some other very promising players playing at the youth level and in the Barcelona subsidiary teams who are in line to get their opportunities playing with the first team in the upcoming preseason. Hansi Flick wants Noah Darvic in preseason. One such Barcelona quarry player who has raised a lot of hopes about his future is the midfielder Noah Darvic. Despite a slow start after his move to the Catalan club, he has shown some signs of improvement with the B team, but his future at Barcelona is quite uncertain. According to Mundo Deportivo, Hansi Flick likes the midfielder and would want to have him under his command for the upcoming pre-season. However, his presence in the first team is not entirely guaranteed for the next season, and thus he is considering some offers he has received from around Europe, but mainly from Germany. Darvic also considering outside offers. Stuttgart and Bayer Leverkusen are two such clubs from the Bundesliga that are interested in the young midfielder. Meanwhile, the Premier League giants Manchester City have also shown an interest in him. However, Darvic is yet to make a decision in this regard. In 2023, the German playmaker had signed a contract for 3 years, with 2 additional optional years, which was in line with the UEFA-mandated formula for underage players. He has a €1 billion release clause, but he is currently focused on the U19 European Championship. Flick likes the midfielder and has already called him up for 2 league games, against Celta Vigo and Real Valladolid, although he did not end up playing. The German coach believes he has a good future ahead of him, but his position is already quite saturated in the first team. Thus, it remains to be seen where he will be playing next season. Lamine Yamal has once again made Barcelona proud by becoming the highest valued player in world football. In the latest Transfermarkt valuation update, Yamal's valuation has been raised to €200 million, overtaking Vinicius Jr., whose market price was lowered to €170 million. However, Yamal is not the only player who has made Barcelona proud. Cubarsí, most valuable defender in the world. Thanks to the new valuation updates, Pau Cubarsí has become the joint most valuable defender in the world. This is because the youngster's valuation has risen €10 million to €80 million, which is on par with Arsenal superstar William Saliba. Both Saliba and Cubarsí now have a valuation of €80 million, thus making them the most valuable defenders in the world, along with Achraf Hakimi and Alessandro Bastoni. Cubarsí's defensive teammate Jules Koundé is not far behind in the race either, with the Frenchman currently enjoying the 10th spot on the list of most valued defenders. The right-back is currently valued at €65 million, which is just €15 million shy of Cubarsí and Saliba. However, the Frenchman is trailing quite a few defenders, including William Pacho, Josko Gvardiol and new Real Madrid signing Trent Alexander-Arnold. Another Barcelona player in the running for the most expensive defender is Alejandro Balde, whose valuation stands at €60 million. However, unlike Koundé and Cubarsí, the Spaniard's valuation hasn't increased. Nevertheless, Cubarsí, for his part, will be delighted with the valuation increase, which will serve as a morale booster for the young defender as he looks to take up a more leadership role next season. With Íñigo Martínez in the final phase of his career, the onus will indeed be on Cubarsí to become more expressive at the back and eventually become a key defensive leader for the club. Lewandowski's final year is here. The next number 9 is being lined up, and Barca's youth are turning into gold. What do you think? Is the future of Barcelona in safe hands? Backhand index pointing down. Comment, like and subscribe for more Barca News World.